My Story on NESN is presented by buyatoyota.com and presented by Sullivan Tire and Auto Service.
My dad took a football mentality to baseball for me.
That ball's hammered to right.
I really felt this connection with this coach that I wanted to play for him.
The Boston Red Sox select Brian.
I remember my ears ringing and kind of looking around, looking down and seeing blood. It was surreal. Like, I almost didn't realize it was happening until it happened.
It seems like a no-hitter.
Holy cow, this just happened.
For Brian Johnson, obstacles have led to self-discovery.
I started to learn, you need to be happy with yourself before you try to start pleasing other people. After getting hit, and it was just like, all right, I want to be normal. Like, I just want to be normal.
Brian's a tough kid, He's mentally strong with everything he does, and he's physically strong. So he works hard at everything and does it right.
Brian grew up in picturesque Lakeland, Florida, where the outdoors were his playground.
Brian was, of the three kids, he was the one into everything. Brian would play outside. I had a fort building the big trees with it, and he was up in the trees all the time. And every day after work sometime, I'd go to Brian's practice and throw BP to him every day. He was so athletic. He could dunk a basketball. Well, then he started playing football also. When he was a freshman in football, Brian could throw the football from the 50-yard line all the way in.
Football was in Brian's blood. His dad played for a gridiron great. Your dad played for Bill Parcells?
He did.
Was his linebackers coach?
Yeah.
Any good stories?
My favorite story would be, he said that when they would come out of the locker room, they could see over the fields, and Coach Parcells would wear colored shoes to tell how his mood was in. So they would start looking immediately because they knew what kind of practice it was going to be by the colored shoes he would wear. And he just said, my dad said he was a no-nonsense guy. He missed a tackle, or he made a good play, like first kickoff of the game, and then he said the next time they kicked off, he didn't want to go in and do that because of how bad it hurt. So he tried to sidearm tackle with a guy, and the guy broke through for like 60 yards on the kickoff. Said next day there was a plane ticket in his locker, or a plane stub, said go home, like do it the right way or don't do it. So like that's the way my dad kind of coached me.
Back at Florida State, I really learned a lot about discipline, because Parcells, he inbred that into you if you wanted to play. If you didn't want to play, gone.
Despite his father's allegiance to football, Brian chose a different route.
There came a point where I was a sophomore in high school, and my dad, it was like one of the serious talks, and it was like, you're getting kind of pulled all over the place. You have school, number one, you gotta have grades, good grades, and it was like now baseball was starting to become a year-round thing, to where it was before it was summer ball. And my dad was like, you're gonna have to pick one. And it really wasn't a hard choice for me, just because baseball is my first love. So, the way I gave it to my dad was, if I had to wake up at 6 in the morning to do one, I want to go to a baseball game, not a football game. So let's do that.
And he was cool with it, supportive?
Totally. He was totally on board. And my dad took a football mentality to baseball for me. It was different, but I'm so happy he did it, because I am the way I am now, and aggressive and pitch with passion because of that.
You said he's supportive through it all, even though you didn't pick his sport.
Yeah.
What about when you don't pick his school? What happens when you don't go to FSU?
It's kind of funny. I grew up a Florida State fan, and obviously my mom and dad went there. My Uncle Joe coached basketball there, So my whole family, we grew up Florida State fans. I knew I wanted to go to Florida State, but the coach at Florida really had me thinking differently. I really felt this connection with this coach that I wanted to play for him. I don't know why, but I wanted to play for him. My sister was at Florida playing softball, and I was like, something in my gut tells me if I go to Florida State, I'm going to make the wrong decision.
He was a two-way player, hit very well and pitch well.
The success you had at Florida offensively as well as pitching, was there ever a thought that, by pursuing a pitching career, you'd be giving up something you were pretty good at on the hitting side?
No, I kind of had everybody indirectly telling me I was going to be a pitcher, but there was a couple teams though where like, hey, we like you as a hitter, but I knew, and I remember when Ben Sherrington drafted me, and Amiel, they called me, and they were like, we just want to make sure we're drafting you as a pitcher, and I said, no, I understand now, it's totally cool. Like, I'm more than willing and happy to do that.
If you were just coming out of college now, would you try to do both? I mean, now that people are taught, you got Ohtani, you got people talking about it, do you think that's something you would have tried?
No. Baseball's tough. It's not easy. You fail 7 out of 10 times, you're a Hall of Famer. If you do it for an extended period of time. Hitting's tough, and you kind of appreciate it especially when you go to the National League and you get the batter's box, and it's tough. That's when everything started to slow down for me, and I look down and I just see more blood, and I'm like, oh my God, that ball just hit me in the face.
My Story on NESN is presented by buyatoyota.com, Toyota's website for deals.
The Boston Red Sox select Brian.
After the elation of being drafted in 2012, Johnson faced a major setback. 2012, you get to Lowell, you're playing the Futures game at Fenway, you get hit by the line drive. Take us through what you remember of that date.
I remember everything. Ironically enough, I never went unconscious. I remember the pitch. I remember the second pitch. I remember who was hitting. I don't recall getting hit. The next thing I remember is, we're talking about a 2-second, 3-second gap here. I remember my ears ringing. I remember my ears ringing and kind of looking around and looking down and seeing blood. And I didn't know, I still haven't put it together at this point in time. My ears are ringing. And then I kind of looked down, and that's when everything started to slow down for me. And I looked down and I just see more blood. And I'm like, oh my God, that ball just hit me in the face.
He threw it 95 back then, and then it came out at 108. And he put the glove up, he said, and I thought I had it this way. I saw it off there and it hit me here. Knocked him straight down.
So my nose was broken, so I couldn't breathe because they're having the towel on me. I remember just running my tongue over my teeth, and I'm like, God, what just happened? I can't. I just can't believe how did this happen, dude? Especially on Fenway, it's on NESN. I hope my family is not watching, and I still haven't let them see it at this point in time. I won't move the towel, and I remember the doctor looking at me. Finally, he's not playing. Okay, how you doing? Now he's getting serious. I need to see your face. And I remember Devin Marrero and Mookie Betts through the tunnel, right where you are. There was almost a tunnel of people. So I knew if I watched them when I move this towel, they're gonna tell me the true reaction of how my face looks. And when I moved the towel, they didn't flinch too much. So I was like, maybe it's not as bad as I think. And I remember the doctor went to walk away, and I grabbed him and I said, tell me the truth. What do I got here? And he's like, I don't know. It could be pretty bad. It could be not that bad. I remember getting wheeled. Actually, remember wheeling to the emergency room to Beth Israel. And I remember they did the CAT scans and all that kind of stuff, and I was like, I just do not want to have surgery. I remember like in tears, like just in the room, like I do not want to have surgery. I was like, I'm not gonna recognize myself anymore. Like that was my biggest fear. Like I'm gonna look in the mirror and never see myself. Like I'm not gonna be me.
Came up to the hospital and everything, and doctor explained how lucky he was.
You know, luckily all my bones had broken straight. So they basically explained it like, imagine a ball breaking a window, and then not all the cracks not being jagged, all of them being straight. And so I had no surgery. I didn't have one bit of surgery.
Your son's face didn't shatter. He straight line, cracked the jaw, broke the nose, crushed the sinus cavity, and he was okay. I mean, the best you can be with all that.
I mean, that was probably the toughest part, like not eating and not realizing, you know, are my teeth gonna be normal, or you know, am I gonna recognize myself? Like, and I didn't want like a pity party. I just kind of wanted to be left alone, like sleeping. I remember one day they said to sleep upright because I ruptured my retina, so the blood wasn't draining. Remember, I was getting no sleep. And I remember laying back on my bed, this was probably 2-3 weeks after I got hit. And I woke up and all I saw was red on my left eye, and I go, oh my God.
First thing Brian told me was, I'm gonna get right back on the mound.
Johnson did get back on the mound, making his first big league start in 2015.
Brian Johnson makes his major league debut tonight for Boston.
Anybody that makes their major league debut has to be nervous, and that's what he's going to try to control.
It's just a game. It's just baseball. It's 60 feet, 6 inches. So you started playing in high school. So if you just think big picture there and just try to focus on that and not worry about all the outside factors, you just go out there and do what's worked so far.
Johnson had realized his dream.
Brian Johnson's first big league strikeout.
But something didn't feel right.
I started to learn a lot about myself when, you know, coming back from it on the baseball field. You know, when I would pitch, I still do it. You know, you guys probably see it. If I don't see the ball off the bat, the first thing I go is my face, and I'm not ashamed of it.
In time, he realized he was battling anxiety. With the support of the Red Sox, he took time away from baseball to deal with it.
Just kind of getting stuff off my chest, talking to my family. I started to learn, you know, you need to be happy with yourself before you try to start pleasing other people. That was the biggest thing. I felt like I was, you know, after getting hit and then the thing, it was just like, all right, I want to be normal. Like I just want to be normal.
The Red Sox were very, very good about this. They had people out there with him, psychiatrists put with him at the time when he was pitching back down in Fort Myers, and they did an excellent job bringing Brian back.
One thing that made me nervous was I was worried that my teammates and my coaches weren't going to trust me again. It was going to be like, we can't pitch Brian. He's going to freak out on the mound. We can't risk that. Like we're the Boston Red Sox. We can't have him pitch in that game. What if he has a panic? Like what if he freaks out? And that's what I didn't want. That's what held me back the longest. I was like, I gotta get over this. Just get over it. And it's to the point where you can't just get over things like that. It's not how it works.
He returned stronger and with a greater appreciation for his team and his support network.
It went better than I could have dreamed of. So grateful for this organization. Like no matter what happens in the rest of my career, Boston Red Sox are unbelievable. You know, all that happens and you know, I don't know. I just, you know, everything worked out well. I don't know. I felt like 1,000,000 pounds were lifted off me when I did that, and you know, all my teammates supported me, and here I am. But everyone kept saying like, "Thank you for doing that." You know, at the beginning, I was like, "Look, like I'm not doing this for anybody else. For once, I'm doing this for me." Like sometimes I'm too nice, and it was like I need to do this for me. I need to figure out me, and that's where I think the biggest change started to come in.
Yes.
It was surreal. I almost didn't realize it was happening until it happened.
He's got it! And that's the ball game!
My Story on NESN is presented by Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. We're always here to get you there.
Cut on and missed. Down he goes, strike three. Down he goes. Yes, he struck him out.
When you threw the complete game shutout against Seattle, your dad was it the first time he'd seen you pitch at Fenway?
That was his first major league game.
First time he saw you pitch in the majors, and you throw a complete game shutout.
Yeah. I remember telling him before the game, like, hey, you're gonna have to do an interview during the game. Like, you'll be fine. Just he's like, oh yeah, no worries. Like, he just loves watching the game. So like, he's like, all right, just can I do it in between innings? I was like, nah, it's not gonna happen, Dad. It's gonna be when I'm pitching.
Billy, with everything that Brian has been through, how special is it for you to watch him here today?
Well, Brian being healthy is a big part of the game for Brian. He's had a lot of scares in his life. He's scared a lot of us. But for Brian to be healthy, we're very, very happy for Brian. And he now is able to achieve what he's wanted in his life here, which is being in Fenway and throwing.
And how much pride do you take in watching him achieve this?
Our whole family does. We're a very tight family, all of us, and we all cheer Brian on. Brian's the youngest one of the family, so Brian's the baby of the family, so we love it.
It was surreal. Like, I almost didn't realize it was happening until it happened.
I had this feeling. I said, this is a beautiful day. This is going to be a great game for him.
Like, you just kind of, it just kept going.
You know, we saw it get to the 4th and the 5th, and we still said, oh, this is still really good, you know? And you never thought about the complete game then.
I remember going in the dugout, and like in the 7th inning, you know, everyone says, all right, keep going, keep going.
And I kept watching the pitch count, and I said, you know, he's going to make this.
And then all of a sudden, I remember coming in after the 8th, and I remember David yelling, finish this thing.
And a 1-2-3-8. He may be looking at a complete game today. It's incredible.
And I look up, and I'm like, it's the 9th inning. And I was like, oh my God.
9th inning, Brian Johnson on the verge of a complete game shutout in his second major league start.
No way, it's in the 9th inning right now. So that's when I remember running out and everyone standing up, and I remember getting to the mound and looking, and I could see my brother, my dad, and my best friend Thomas up there. And I remember that's when I started to started to get a little bit more energy. Like I wasn't tired. I felt great because all that adrenaline. And I was like, I remember I went 1-0 or 2-0 to the first hitter. And that's when I stood off and I was like, all right, slow it down. Like, take a deep breath, like lock it back in. Like, don't get caught up in the moment. And Nelson Cruz maybe hit a missile, and Jackie makes a great play.
Shot to center field coming on Jackie. Bradley does it hit. He caught it. Whoa!
And then it was, I don't know whether it was a strikeout or a ground out, and then Jackie runs that ball down in the gap.
Bradley racing. He's got it! And that's the ball game. Brian Johnson goes all the way.
What a catch by Jackie Bradley. Oh my God.
And I remember just like, holy cow, this just happened.
That was unbelievable. Unbelievable.
It almost felt like, I know it wasn't a no-hitter, but I mean, shoot, if that felt anything like it, I mean, it's got to feel close, but it was incredible. I remember then, all my teammates running out, and it was cool. It was really, really cool.
It's an individual achievement, but the whole team celebrated that, which was cool.
Yeah, because like I said, the one thing I remember is David yelling. That's when I all kind of clicked. Like, David yelled, finish this thing. And I went, whoa, and it was awesome. It was really, really cool.
You get the walk-off interview, which starting pitchers never get to do, right?
See ya. That was a double whammy.
Double whammy. Good for him.
You get to contribute in ways that, maybe not be the star.
And in there for strike 3.
It meant a lot to hear that because, the players in that locker room.
And a call to the bullpen. You got him. Cut on and missed. He struck him out, and that will retire the side. They will leave them loaded.
You started the year in the bullpen. What did you learn about coming out of the pen? Because you've been a starter all your life. How different was that, and how'd you adjust to it?
Out of the bullpen, for me, it was, coming into the game right away, knowing how to pitch and what to throw and situation of the game, and my preparation before the game in the bullpen.
Somebody asked me yesterday about JD and Mookie as far as the MVP of the team. I know they've been 1 and 2 doing what they do, but if you start looking at under the radar guys that have put this team in a position to be successful on a daily basis. BJ is one of them.
What did that mean? You got a manager of a team with so much talent in that clubhouse. 108 wins, World Series championship, and you're one of the first guy he mentions is, we don't do this without his contributions. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot, you know. More on what you said, you know, there's so many great guys on that team, you know, players and people. It means a lot, you know, because you get to contribute in ways that, you know, maybe not be the star or the, you know, the big out, or, you know, but it's situations where, you know, behind the scenes stuff where guys kind of need it, you know, someone's, you know, hurting a little bit, or, you know, someone's sick, or it's, you know, at times where you got to step up.
Johnson thrust into the rotation with injuries to Stephen Wright and Eduardo Rodriguez. And that's how the night begins.
I contribute that to Alex and Dana a lot, to the communication level we had with, you know, like, hey, like, you know, be ready. This could happen, this could happen. You always, it was never, you know, you never really caught off guard. So I think for me it meant a lot to hear that, because, you know, the players in that locker room.
Record-setting season, World Series. What was this off season like?
You know, everyone wanted to see the ring. You know, you'd go somewhere and be like, hey, can I see your World Series ring? And it was kind of weird, because some of the places I'd be like pulling up to a dock on my boat and be like, hey, can I see your ring? I'm like, I wouldn't be wearing my ring here anyways. Like,
last thing I want to ask you about the parade last year. You feel a connection with those fans? I mean, they've from Lowell to coming up through the minors, they've sort of seen your story's been pretty public.
Yeah.
And here they are celebrating a world championship with you on a duck boat. Do you feel that sort of personal connection?
I didn't imagine it to be like that. I didn't know. I thought it was going to be like, you know, like I'm used to like my hometown Christmas parade where I'm on the side and it's like, you know, like 100 people. And we took that first turn at Fenway and on Boylston. I mean, I was like, oh my, I looked at my best friend with me. I looked at him like, he's like, oh my God. I was like, this is, so I was like, maybe it's just because Fenway's right here. Maybe that's just why. Everybody went. It was incredible. It was really, really cool.